Welcome to On the Fly College Edition, a podcast presented by Playfly Sports. I'm your host, Gene DeFilippo. Playfly Sports is the full-service marketing and media company bringing digitally enabled innovations to the sports industry. Welcome to Playfly, Sandy Barbour.
Thanks, Gene. It's great to see you as always, and I've always appreciated and enjoyed our friendship and relationship, and it has been a long time, over a long period of time, but that's been a lot of fun for both you and I.
A lot of fun for both of us, but we won't talk about the years that we've known each other. Sandy, you've been the director of athletics at Tulane, where you hired a coach who went undefeated, 12-0. You then went on to be the director of athletics at Cal Berkeley, now on to be the director of athletics at Penn State. Tell the people out there your story, because it's so interesting, and there's a lot of young administrators, primarily women, that want to know how you did it and how you got to be so successful.
Well, here's another one of those pieces of this story that identifies that you and I have both been doing this a long time, right? I started as a collegiate student athlete at Wake Forest, and went straight from there to UMass Amherst to get my master's in sport administration, which I think has played a really integral role in my success and my advancement. And then I went straight to Northwestern to do my internship to finish up my master's, and I stayed 9 years, and got a second master's, got my MBA from Kellogg, and I coached for a few years, and then I moved into administration, which really started that glide path. So I finished my MBA at Kellogg, which then gave me the opportunity to move on, and I was very fortunate to join forces with a gentleman by the name of Kevin White, who hired me at Tulane. And at that point, I was completely out of coaching and fully into administration. And I really look very fondly on that time. Obviously, Tulane was a relatively small operation. We had the opportunity to do a lot of different things, which I think again contributed really significantly to my ability to continue to move up. And then in 1996, Kevin left to go to Arizona State as their athletic director, and I became the athletic director at Tulane. You've already referenced it, Gene. I had the opportunity to hire Tommy Bowden in 1997, and we went from being 2-9 the previous season under the previous coach to I think we were 7-4 in Tommy's first year, and then 11-0 in Tommy's second year when he left to go to Clemson. So my time at Tulane was phenomenal, but 4 years later, Kevin's leaving Arizona State to go to Notre Dame, and I went with him as his deputy there. Spent 4 years at Notre Dame, fabulous place, an opportunity to reconnect with Kevin, and then after those 4 years, I had the opportunity to go to Berkeley and be their athletic director for 10 years, which then, again, all this builds on itself, gave me the opportunity to come home. For me, growing up on the East Coast, being a native of the state of Maryland, Pennsylvania and State College now, about 3.5 hours from my hometown in Annapolis. And that gave me the opportunity to come home, come back east, and be the athletic director at Penn State. Now going on, I'm headed into, actually about 3 or 4 days ago, headed into my 8th year.
Wow, what a job you've done. What a career. Sandy, you mentioned so many of your successes along the way. What advice would you give to a young Sandy Barbour who is taking her first job at Tulane University?
One of my pieces of advice would be to really take your time and not be in a hurry and learn from everybody around you and learn from every position that you have, because I think it all adds up. The second piece would be, understand who you are. Figure out, be very intentional about understanding that. Don't just let it happen. Um, and then be yourself. Align yourself with institutions and people to work with and for, where you can be yourself, and because I think that's where you're going to shine.
That's a great answer. Great answer. Sandy, when you have two candidates and you've hired some great coaches and administrators in your time, when you have two candidates and they're fairly equal in ability and all, how do you make the final decision?
Wow, that's first of all, I'll say I don't think there's anything more important in what we do than hiring of people who we invite to come and contribute to our culture and be a part of our family. I would say this: you probably don't get down to a final two. As a candidate, you don't get in my final two without being a really significant values fit for the organization, for us as an athletic department, no matter what the role is. But I would say if it's two people that are really close, who is the best values fit, who is the best values alignment, who fits. The what how we define success, and then sometimes that may feel like a pretty good tie as well, because again, I don't think you get to the finals without being a good values being in good values alignment. And so really it's who's got the best upside potential, who's got the most growth, who's got the opportunity to have the highest ceiling, would probably be the tiebreaker for me there.
Great answer. Sandy, what are some of the things that have been most rewarding to you along your way?
Well, Gina, not unlike you, I've had the opportunity to be at some incredible places that have had great athletic success. Whether they be national championships or conference championships or great winning streaks, but I can tell you those things are not even in my top 10 now after 40 years. All of the most rewarding, the best memories, the things that someday when I decide to go off into the sunset, whatever that means and whatever that looks like, the things that I'll think about are our people, and at the top of that list will be students. The things I think about are 10 years later when a student athlete, a former student athlete, an alum comes back and or calls me up and now has a child, or is married or is doing something incredible in their career, and they talk about what they learned in the program and how maybe that set them up for what they're doing now, or when they come back and apologize, they say, boy, I was a real butthead as a 20-year-old, right? And I know, that we clashed, but now I see what you were trying to do, and I'm very appreciative of that. So I would say mainly around student athletes and watching their growth and development. And again, I've been in it long enough now that some of my original former student athletes are in their 50s now, and listening to what their experience kind of set them up for. But it's also coaches and staff members, and maybe hiring a young staff member who now has an opportunity to be an athletic director. I worked for a guy and I'm obviously close to and continue to be in Kevin White, who's got this incredible athletic director tree. And I've had the opportunity to grow my own, whether it's my own or people I know and maybe have helped along the way, men and women, who are now sitting in the seat, and I'm really proud to say that maybe I've been a part of their growth and development, and really excited for kind of giving them the keys to the kingdom as it relates to our industry and the future. And those are the kinds of things that really light my soul.
I knew you were going to say that. I remember one of the most rewarding things for me at Boston College was when we had a student athlete who became our first Rhodes Scholar.
Yeah.
I was absolutely over the moon with that, because here it came a young man who was right out of high school. And yes, he was disciplined. Yes, he had all the tools, but our coaches, our administrators helped him along the way, and he became a Rhodes Scholar, our first at Boston College. They've had several since, but I get it that those are the things that I really value. You know, the other thing I really value more now than I did, Sandy, was the journey. It's not so much the summit, and sometimes there's some lows, but the journey is something that you really have to enjoy as an AD, don't you?
You absolutely do. And Gene, I'll tell you, I think that's a challenge, because we get so focused on the day to day. We get so focused on something that may not be going well, or the challenge of, the crisis in college athletics, or, the du jour, whatever it is. And I have to, and I think most of us do, be really conscious about stepping back from that, pulling back from that, and going, all right, as leaders, we've got to have the big picture in mind. I think one of our responsibilities is to give our organizations, and more importantly, the people in our organizations, hope and confidence in what is down the road. And part of that is really understanding the journey instead of the little steps and the nuts and bolts along the way. And I don't think that's easy. I don't think our society makes that easy for us, and certainly our industry, and particularly right now, does not. But you bring up a great point. And it's one that I think we need to spend more time on, very consciously pulling back, looking at the big picture, the old smell the roses, and really think about the journey.
Yeah, I wasn't able to do that in the job, and I wish that I had done a better job of it. It's only now that I've been out 9 years that I look back at the journey and wished I'd even enjoyed it more. Sandy, we can't not speak about conference expansion. I, right or wrong, college expansion. I know what Chris Del Conte and Joe Castiglione are going through, because I went through it at Boston College back in 2003, when Boston College and Virginia Tech and Miami were offered an opportunity to go to the ACC. And there were a lot of people that were angry because it wasn't discussed, on top of the table. But as an institution, when you're a director of athletics, you have to do what's in the best interest of that institution. Right or wrong, you have to live with the consequences. What are your thoughts as we're going through another era here, another period of conference realignment?
Well, Gene, ironically, when you were at Boston College and went through that in '03, Kevin and I were sitting on the other side of that. You left us in the Big East. So
Right. That's right.
yeah. So we can get our feelings hurt. We're human. I know what our colleagues in the Big 12 are going through right now. I mean, obviously that has real ramifications on their futures. So all of that is real. But I think what you said is spot on. And all of us as professionals and men and women who've been in this a long time, we obviously know those two athletic directors at Texas and Oklahoma really well, and they're as good as it gets. But you're right. Any of us would tell you that we have to do what is in the best long-term interest our institution. That's what we're hired to do. That's our fiduciary responsibility. I think that's, if you take a step back, again, emotions run high based on consequences for individual institutions. But if you take a step back, that's any one of us would recognize and acknowledge that we have to do what's best for our institution. That's our job. That's what we're charged to do by our presidents and our chancellors and our boards. And that's what we're hired to do.
Yeah. Sandy, I'm not sure that we're going to end up in 4 super leagues of 16. I don't see that anytime soon. Who knows what anybody's going to do, but what's your take, just short term, the next 3, 4, 5 years? What do you think might happen?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this, and I hate to say this. I hate to have to acknowledge it, but it's going to be follow the money.
Yeah.
And that's certainly what Oklahoma and Texas's move was all about. And I think we all know as well that the answer to the follow the money lies with media rights. We used to say television. We used to say broadcast rights, or it's much broader than that now. You listen to talking heads, and they're talking about television, but they're talking about over the top, and talking about streaming, and talking about and I think from a technology standpoint, we don't even know. I mean, think about the things that we have available to us today as consumers of live college sport. I mean, that's where we're really, really fortunate here. Is we're talking about one of the very last really on demand, being demanded broadcast entities, content, live sports. Can't be replicated in any other way. And so I think we're fortunate from that standpoint, but I think it all depends on where the technology and then ultimately the money takes us. And what I am hopeful for, again, I've been really fortunate to have worked started in the Big Ten. In my time at Tulane, we were the old Metro. We were the great Midwest, and then I came to Notre Dame. We were in the Big East at the time. Then I went to the Pac-12, and then I came back to the Big Ten. Full circle. Worked in some really great organizations in terms of the conference structure, and been really fortunate to always be at places that, yes, had an opportunity to create resources from a money standpoint, but also really had a very strong value structure, and that's certainly where I am today. Being very fortunate to be in the Big Ten, and I know that we're going to work really hard as a conference and as membership and as colleagues together to maintain that and grow that and have that become even stronger.
Yeah. Sandy, golf was really important to me. Golf and my grandchildren kept me sane in the job, or at least I thought I was sane. Maybe some others didn't.
I know some people that have worked for Eugene. I think there might be a disagreement there, but
I know who you're speaking about, and you're absolutely right.
She's in the next office over, right here. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do for fun? What do you do to take your mind off the job? What do you do to just get away for a couple of hours?
Yeah. I enjoy golf. But I will tell you, it's too long for me. It's now in where I've been places that like Notre Dame, Notre Dame was one of them. Now here at Penn State, where we've had our own golf course, and you had the ability to go out and play 6 holes, on a summer evening or something like that. I do enjoy it. I'm not any good at it, which probably keeps me from doing it more. But I'm really about just a great conversation with somebody that's that's got an interesting take on something. I certainly will admit to over my 10 years in Northern California to learning a lot about wine. And so most of what I do nowadays includes a nice glass of wine. Not during the workday, obviously, but
Right.
but in terms of relaxing and just taking time away, and part of that is in the wine itself, and part of it is just about learning about wines, and I find winery people, a lot of our Berkeley folks were involved in the wine industry either through ownership or the actual industry itself, and I find all of that fascinating. Just kind of the story behind a vineyard or a bottle of wine, or and then the other thing, and obviously this can also include wine and people, and I've always I always have had as a member of the family a couple of dogs, and dogs are usually labs as an adult, and
Oh, yes.
dogs are as good as it comes. They don't care what kind of day you've had. They don't care if you won or if you lost by 25. They're going to greet you at the door, and then they're going to tell you you've had a great day and how much they love you. And so whether it's taking dogs out for a run or a big hike or a swim in the lake or the river or whatever it is also very relaxing for me. And then the last thing, and I don't get to do this as much as I would like, but when I mention relaxing, Central Pennsylvania is known for their fly fishing. And I'm, again, not a very good fly fisher person, but it is so relaxing. It is so quiet. That I don't really care whether I catch any fish or not, but get out there in your waders and into the stream and cast a few, and it's all great fun.
Do you have a guide, Sandy, that takes you out there sometimes?
I have. I certainly did early on here. I had had the pleasure of fly fishing in both Sun Valley and Jackson Hole, where I definitely went with guides. And the first few times here, yeah, but that also takes organization and arranging for the guide. And now it's kind of like, on a Friday afternoon, I want to go out and spend an hour in the stream, and so you go without a guide.
Yeah. Great. That sounds like fun. I've
Yeah, it
never
is.
I've never fished much, but I can see that people just love it, and I'm glad that it's a way of getting away. Sandy, what things would you like to say to people? What would you like to end this with? I don't have all the questions, but do you have anything that you'd like to add to this? Because I think that'd be important.
Yeah, I think as we come out of COVID, we're all seeing across a lot of different industries, people really reflecting. I won't say questioning, but really reflecting, reflecting on their lives, reflecting on their relationships with their families, with significant others, etc. And I know, and I'm sure Gene, you hear it too. A lot within our industry. Again, we take COVID and then we add on some of the things we've talked about, whether they're name, image, and likeness, or transfers, or conference realignment. And there's a lot going on in our industry. I would just hope we've got so many great people in this industry, and we're fortunate. We've got a lot that are coming up through the pipeline that are phenomenal. I'm so excited about the future of our industry because of our leaders that are coming up through it. But I'd hate to lose some of our really, really good people. What I might consider prematurely, just because it's, there's so much going on, and a lot of it is really difficult and complex and complicated. But some of the things we've talked about here on the podcast, just about how rewarding it is. And I think sometimes we get mired down in what is challenging and tough and hard, and we forget about, or we don't give the proper weight to really how satisfying and phenomenal this is. I mean, I feel so fortunate to have been able to make a living, make a career out of doing this. Yeah, there've been hard times and there've been difficult things to solve, and we deal with 18, 17 to 22-year-olds, and sometimes really tough stuff happens, and we have to work our way, and on behalf of our organization, work our way through those things. But all in all, I just pinch myself every day thinking about how fortunate we all are to get to do something that we're just so passionate about, and I don't want that to get lost.
Okay. Sandy, thank you. There's some wonderful information out here. There's a lot of young administrators that are going to listen to you speaking 2 or 3 times. I told everybody you were one of the best in this business. You remain so. Good luck to you this season, as the Nittany Lions will be playing in 3 or 4 weeks here. It's almost August, but thanks so much, Sandy. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely, Gene. Thanks for having me. And as always, it's great to spend time together.
We're out of time on this week's On the Fly College Edition. I'm your host, Gene DeFilippo. Thanks for your time this time, and we'll see you next time.